Everyone thinks Thor is dangerous because of his hammer. This story is about the night he didn't have it. A glowing bar of iron, white hot from the forge, tore across the giant's hall. Thor caught it. The heat screamed through his gloves. He threw it back, through an iron pillar, through the giant's chest, through the wall behind him, into the earth. That's how Geirrod died. It started with Loki being bored. It usually does, but this time it cost him 3 months of his life. He borrowed Frigg's falcon cloak and went flying. No reason, just flying. He landed on the windowsill of a giant's hall. A hand closed around him before he could take off again. 3 months. 3 months locked in a chest, starving, before Loki finally said his name. When Geirrod learned he had a god in a box, he made an offer. Bring me Thor, without his hammer, without his belt, without his gloves. Bring him to me defenseless, and I'll let you go. Loki said yes. I don't know if he hesitated, but knowing Loki, probably not. So Thor walked into Jotunheim with nothing but the clothes on his back, because his friend asked him to. Think about that. The god of thunder, stripped of everything that made him dangerous, walking into giant territory on Loki's word. They stopped for the night at a giant's house. Grid, her name was. Mother of Vidar. Odin's lover, if the stories are true. And they usually are when it comes to Odin. A giant who shared a bed with the Allfather. She had no reason to help Thor. No loyalty to Asgard. No debt to repay. But she took one look at him and shook her head. Geirrod will kill you. Thor shrugged. He'd killed giants before. Not like this, she said. Not without your weapons. Geirrod knows you're coming. He's been planning this for months. She went to her chamber and came back with 3 things. Her own belt of strength, not as powerful as Thor's, but enough. Her iron gloves, cold and heavy, and a staff. Just a wooden staff, nothing special to look at. That staff would save his life 3 times before the night was over. The river Vimur was the first test. Widest river in the 9 worlds. And when Thor stepped into it, the water started rising. Fast. By the time he reached the middle, it was at his shoulders. Loki clung to his back, and the current tore at both of them. Thor planted Grid's staff into the riverbed, just to keep his footing. It bowed, but it didn't break. Thor looked upstream. Geirrod's daughter, Gjalp, stood straddling the river between 2 cliffs. The flood was coming from her. He picked up a boulder from the riverbed and threw it. Hit her square. She went down, but she wasn't dead. Not yet. The current swept him downstream anyway. He drove the staff into the riverbed again, slowing himself just enough to grab a rowan branch and haul himself to shore. That's why they say rowan is Thor's tree, if you've ever wondered. That moment, that branch. Geirrod's hall was warm and lit with fire when they arrived. But the giant didn't greet them. Servants led Thor to a goat shed instead. No food, no drink, no acknowledgement that a god had just walked through his doors. 1 chair. That was his hospitality. Thor should have known then. A giant who insults a god to his face isn't stupid. He's confident. And confidence like that only comes from having a plan. But Thor was tired. The river had taken more out of him than he'd admit. He sat down, closed his eyes. The chair started rising, slowly at first, then faster. Toward the ceiling, toward the rafters. And Thor realized someone was pushing from below, trying to crush him against the roof beams. He jammed Grid's staff between himself and the ceiling, and he pushed back. The crack of bone. 2 screams, cut short. Gjalp and Gripe, Geirrod's daughters. They'd been hiding under the chair, waiting for him to fall asleep. Thor broke both their spines with a wooden staff, and the weight of his own body. He walked into Geirrod's hall covered in their blood. The giant stood by a forge, flames dancing in his eyes. He didn't look surprised. He didn't look afraid. He reached into the fire with iron tongs and pulled out a glowing bar of metal. And he threw it. Thor caught it. The heat sang through Grid's gloves, but he caught it. Geirrod dove behind an iron pillar. It wasn't enough. Thor threw the bar back, and it punched through the pillar like it was made of cloth. Through Geirrod's chest, through the stone wall behind him. They found it buried in the earth outside. No hammer, no lightning, just borrowed gloves and a bad temper, throwing fire back at the one who tried to burn him. They talk about Thor's hammer like it makes him dangerous. He killed a warlord with his own fire, crushed his daughters with a wooden staff, walked into a trap, and left nothing but silence. The hammer isn't the weapon. Thor is.